In this presentation, we're going to discuss work zone safety and its role it plays in the public safety and the safety of all our employees. Now we're going to take a look at a consumer's energy ad campaign that they ran to inform the public the importance of their role in work zone safety so that their employees are not put in danger.
When we're on the job, safety is top of mind, yours and ours. High voltage, extreme heights, and heavy-duty equipment are all dangerous, but traffic is still the biggest threat on every job site. Keep an eye out for a high visibility vest that can be seen day and night. Signs and cones are there to let you know where we are working and create a safe zone for us to work in. We have high-intensity lights on our truck that increase visibility at night and in the fog. We can do a lot to ensure our safety, but ultimately it is up to you to prevent an accident. So next time you approach a utility crew, keep your eyes on the road to ensure our crews are going home safely. And remember, slow down, go around.
In this course, we will discuss the identifications of work zones, the elements which comprise a work zone, and their compliance to the MMUTCD, also known as the Michigan Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. We'll then look at control zones and measures that can be taken to ensure public safety and also the safety of the work crews. And then finally, the requirements when using a flagger in combination with other traffic control devices. The sole responsibility for setting up traffic control, maintaining the traffic control throughout the day, or even using it period, lies solely on the agency performing construction and or maintenance work on an adjacent street or highway or on a street or highway. It is important that different traffic control devices are used and conform to the MMUTCD, such as signs, cones, arrow boards, barrels, stop slow paddles, to name a few. Anytime any of these devices are used, the MMUTCD should be referenced. Now we're going to look at an image, and I'm going to give you a minute to see if you can find what is incorrect. All right, the first thing that I'll point out is the traffic control barrel that is on the right side of the vehicle. That traffic control device should be on the other side, letting motorists know that there is a lane of traffic that is blocked off. Next thing we'll look at is directly under the trailer. You don't see any other traffic control devices, nor do you see any signage, no flaggers. I don't actually know how wide that road is, if there's multiple lanes or not. But at any rate, there is no devices letting motorists know that this truck is parked here, temporarily blocking a lane for unloading purposes. And then finally, the truck and trailer combination is blocking the entrance and possibly the only entrance and exit to the job site. So in an emergent situation, first responders would not be able to access the job site. All right, let's take a look at another image. I'll give you a minute to identify what is incorrect. All right, the first thing that I'll point out is I've got traffic control devices that are blocking a portion of a lane. Anytime a traffic control device is going to be minimizing the width of the lane will need to be completely blocked off. So that traffic control device is incorrectly placed. The second part of this is that being that this is a crane, it's on tracks and it has a swinging counterweight. The counterweight itself is a hazard, but also that counterweight will swing over the tracks if it were to move to the left. And that would block the lane of traffic, which means that they would need to anticipate that step before they would start any operations. So they would need to completely close off that lane to remain safe. Also, the crane is blocking off the potential only entrance and exit to the job site. So again, in an emergent situation, first responders would not be able to respond. Okay, one last image for you to identify what is incorrect. Okay, well, I believe the first notable thing that's clear to see on with any worker on a job site is if they're not wearing their PPE. So these two workers clearly don't have all the required PPE that we would require. Their rules may be different for whatever state that they're in or for whatever company they're working for, but the Class 2 vest is the most important thing that you can have in this situation to help you remain visible to other motorists that may be transiting through the area. They're also lacking a hard hat, which is something that we require along with safety glasses whenever on a job site, even if you're unloading an excavator. The next notable thing is the lack of traffic control devices in the roadway, diverting traffic and letting traffic know that there is an excavator and a truck and trailer that is blocking a lane of traffic. You can see that the traffic control device, a cone, is still on their trailer. This would be the first thing that you'd want to put out before actually putting down the ramps to unload the excavator. And then finally, there are no other cones, traffic control devices, any signage informing motorists ahead of time that there is a vehicle blocking lane of traffic up ahead and to keep their eyes out. All right, now we're going to look at the different work zone elements that comprise a complete work zone. So the first thing that we're going to discuss is the advanced warning area. This is basically what gives the first warning to any motorist that there is some kind of traffic situation going on up ahead, and will start giving them direction on what they need to do. In this case, they'll have an error board showing them that they will need to divert to the left through the transition area, which is also dependent on the speed limit. And then the first part of the activity area that they'll reach is called the buffer space. There is no work that should be performed in this area. It's just that buffer space to ensure that the motorist is on the correct path and that will stay clear of any area where work is actually being performed. Then you have the termination area. So this is where the workspace is ended. There are no workers present anymore, and the job site has ended. So therefore, the traffic control can end, and the traffic control can be terminated, and the traffic flow can resume normal operations. So as I talked about in the previous slide, the advanced warning area is dependent on speed limits, and this will determine the length of the advanced warning area before the start of the transition area. So if you look down at the table, table 6C-1, it may look familiar to you. This is the recommended advanced warning sign minimum spacing. This table is on your pre-job brief to give you that little extra resource to use when setting up traffic control. Looking at the table, you're going to be focused on the column A. So when you're looking at the urban low speed, doing the calculations, which is the rule of thumb for this, it typically is between 4 to 8 times the posted speed limit. So an example of this would be 25 miles an hour, multiply that times 4, you get 100 feet. When you're going back to the table, you're looking at the urban high speed. Doing the calculations to this is typically 45 miles an hour. And then you also have your rural recommendations and your expressway and freeway recommendations. If this table is unable to help you, or referencing the MMUTCD is unable to help you, it's important to contact the safety department so we can give you a little extra information. So the next work zone element we're going to look at is the transition area. So this is the area that is right after the advanced warning area, but right before the buffer space. So in the transition area, what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to redirect traffic from a normal traffic flow to a new traffic flow. And we need to let motorists know this by putting an arrow board at the end of the taper, showing them what direction they need to go. And this arrow board will actually be right on the border of the buffer space and the end of the taper area or transition area. The taper length will also be determined by the MMUTCD, so it should be referenced when setting up traffic control. So looking at the buffer space, this really provides the added protection for traffic and workers. So the buffer space is going to start where traffic should have already moved over in the transition area, and they should be starting on their new route. So they should be aware of what is going on in the lane next to them. This buffer space is also important in the event a motorist does not observe the advanced warning signs, does not observe the taper in the transition area, and therefore we'll give that little extra protection before they actually enter the work zone for them to stop. In the buffer space, is it important that no work is actually being completed in this area? When looking at the activity area, this is where the work is actually taking place. So this will be after the buffer space. It is also important to note, depending on the work being performed, they may want to include a lateral buffer space, which will extend the width of the activity area, and this provides a little added protection. And this is usually dependent on the longevity of a project. Shorter projects typically will not have that lateral buffer space. These activity areas can stretch for miles, or they can stretch only a couple feet, depending on what is actually being done. And finally, we're going to talk about the termination area. So this is where the job site has ended, the traffic control no longer has to be used and therefore can be terminated. This will return road users to their normal path that they were traveling before they entered the work zone. This shall extend downstream at the end of the work area, and it's always important to have a traffic control device letting motorists know that the work zone is ended and they can resume normal operations. There's nothing more frustrating to motorists that don't ever see an end to a work zone and don't have that sign letting them know that the traffic control devices are no longer in use. All right, now we're going to take a look at signs and symbols. It's important that they're visible at all times work is performed. So maintaining and constantly inspecting traffic control is just as important as initially setting it up. Things like motorists hitting a traffic control devices and knocking them over, or the wind knocking over the traffic control devices is very probable in the state of Michigan. So it's important that we inspect throughout the day to make sure the traffic control is set up correctly at all times. Next, it's important that all of our signs and symbols are clean and free of defects or damage. We want to make sure that nothing is peeling off of them. We want to make sure they're free of mud, snow, anything like that. And having a defect or damage in a sign is also probable because we do use these on a routine basis. So they will build defects and damage over time. Next is proper placement. We don't want to crowd any signs, so we don't want to add our temporary sign onto a permanent sign. That gives motorists too much to look at in a short amount of time, so they need to be spaced out properly. And if any of the permanent signs need to be covered because they do not apply, you need to work with the road commissions and the townships to ensure that that can be completed. Next, we want to limit down to the minimal amount of signs in use. We don't want to have 8 signs in a 10-foot area because then the use or effectiveness of the sign deteriorates with the motorist. So the first picture that we're going to look at on here is too many signs in a very short distance. So when you put too many signs, you lose the effectiveness of the sign with the motorist. So it's important to space them out properly. The picture on the bottom right is an unclean traffic control sign. So it has snow on it. This is typically a situation where a job may stretch out over a couple of days. If the traffic control device needs to remain there when work has stopped for the day until the work starts tomorrow, it can be left there. However, different weather conditions can affect the cleanliness and effectiveness of the sign. So in these pictures, we're going to look at sign placement and how these signs are incorrect. So the top left As I mentioned before, we never want to place our temporary signs where a permanent sign is. It gives the motorist too much to look at, and therefore will diminish the effectiveness of the sign that is forming and actually informing the motorist of the work site. The picture on the bottom right basically shows an incorrect sign mount or tripod, anything like that. Basically, number one, it's too low to the ground, and also part of the sign is being covered up by the center block that is actually holding the sign in place. So this is an inadequate sign placement. All right, now we're going to talk about flaggers and the personal protective equipment requirements, also known as PPE requirements. High visibility is the most important thing for a flagger to wear so that they can be visible to moving traffic on an adjacent roadway or for any other construction equipment operators so that they're able to be seen on the job site. We have two different requirements for flaggers, one for daytime, one for nighttime. For daytime, all that's required is a Class 2 safety vest. What makes the vest Class 2 is the reflective tape that's on there. The reflective tape should be clean and free of any defects so that it remains effective. For Class 3, you need to have a Class 3 ensemble for nighttime. Basically, a Class 2 vest to use in combination with Class E pants, which the Class E pants are the reflective tape pants. It is considered a Class 3 ensemble and fulfills the requirement for any nighttime operations when flagging. So with flagging operations, the MMUTCD spells out specific requirements for daytime and nighttime operations. So when you're flagging, it's imperative that you use a minimum of an 18-inch by 18-inch octagonal stop-slow paddle, and that has to have a minimum height of 6 feet. So it's important that you measure to ensure that the pole has not been cut down and that it is the minimum 6-foot requirement. Next is two-way radio communication, and this requirement does not change even if you're only dealing with 10, 20, 30 feet where you think that you're able to yell. There's construction equipment, there's weather conditions, there's also other motorists in their vehicles, trucks that may increase the noise levels, which will make shouting or trying to talk to the other flagger impossible. So two-way radio communication is required no matter the length. It's important that you stand at all times and that you never enter a lane of traffic. It's very possible to flag for a long period of time. This will increase the fatigue that a flagger may feel, but it is important that they do not sit down, that they remain visible to all motorists. And this is also important that to leave yourself an out. You don't want to, sit on a truck or put yourself in a position where if you had to escape an oncoming motorist who is not obeying your traffic control device, that you're able to leave yourself an out and escape. And also, again, never enter an active lane of traffic, even if a motorist is not obeying your sign and is trying to enter the job site or the work zone area. It's just important at that point to get on your two-way radio communication and make sure that you're communicating the motorist that is not in compliance. For nighttime operations, we're going to have all of the daytime requirements, but we're also going to have lighted flagging stations. So again, having that that light tower present, basically illuminating the flagger and their sign will just help increase the visibility for a motorist and let them know that they will have to adjust their course of direction when transiting through the work zone. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to identify what is wrong with this picture. All right, so just to identify the many things that are wrong with this ridiculous picture. First of all, you got a truck that's facing the wrong lane of traffic, and this will number one confuse a motorist because as you can see there, you can see the stop slow paddle that is blended in with the vehicle, but you can't really see a job site. So the motorist doesn't know if maybe that this truck is illegally parked or what is going on. So he's not really communicating why he's there. The second thing is that while the vehicle gives him a little extra protection by remaining inside, he's not visible to actually give commands to any of the motorists that are looking for them. And also the stop slow paddle is being held outside, but is not fulfilling the 6-foot requirement. So we always talk about situational awareness and how important it is for anyone that is actually on a job site, but it's especially important for flaggers that are present on the job site. So it's important that flaggers never turn their back to traffic, never step in front of any vehicle, never assume a vehicle is going to stop, never stand where you can be crushed by equipment, never stand over the crest of a hill, never stand around sharp curves, and never stand where not visible to motorists or other equipment operators. All right, we have another picture for you to identify what is wrong. All right, so the first thing that I notice is the flagger standing in the flow of traffic. So the flagger would not really have an adequate escape path. So they would need to stand actually closer to the stop slow paddle, and they would need to pull the vehicle away so they would have an escape route. The second thing I notice is the stop slow paddle that's inside a cone. I know that the pole of a stop slow paddle fits perfectly inside the top of a cone, but this should never happen. Even if the flagger is trying to reduce fatigue on holding the stop slow paddle, they should never be used in conjunction. The flagger should always remain a sturdy hold of the stop slow paddle. Next, the stop slow paddle is placed in front of a vehicle, so the stop slow paddle blends in with the vehicle, so it reduces the effectiveness of the sign and the visibility of the actual stop slow paddle. So in the picture on the top left here is an example of a fatigued flagger. Basically, he's letting his guard down, and he found a spot there. He also is at the end of a curve, so he's not going to give the traffic much advance warning that he is present there. Also, he's sitting on a barricade, so again, he won't have the time to actually get up and escape, and he will have that barricade in his way if he does attempt to do so. Next, the picture on the bottom right, we have a flagger who is propped up against a vehicle with his stop slow paddle. As you can see here, he blends in with this vehicle, so motorists will not be able to identify that a flagger is actually present until they actually get up closer to him. And he doesn't leave himself an out between the active traffic flow and his vehicle. So if he had to escape for any reason, he would be unable to do so. Also, he is lacking the required PPE.
Welcome to MDOT's training video, How to Safely Regulate Traffic in Michigan. Viewing this video is the first step to becoming a qualified traffic regulator in Michigan. You must also read the Traffic Regulator Instruction Manual within 12 months prior to traffic regulating. Your life and the lives of others depend upon you. Traffic regulators protect personnel and provide safe, courteous, and authoritative direction to motorists passing through the work zone. It's a full-time job. A moment's distraction or careless use of a sign puts people in jeopardy. Diligence is the key in preventing traffic crashes in your work zone. The clothing and safety gear you wear and use in the work zone are an important part of a traffic regulator's job. They allow you to be both effective and safe. A shirt and full-length pants are the proper dress. Do not wear shorts, tank tops, or halter tops. A neat, professional appearance assists you in gaining full concentration from the motorist and will make you more effective on the job. Traffic regulators must wear clean, high-visibility safety apparel that meets the American National Standards Institute 107 Class 2 standards. Check the label. If it doesn't say ANSI 107, Class 2 or higher, you cannot wear it. Hard hats, safety glasses, and safety boots meeting the MIOSHA Construction Safety Standards, Part 6 Personal Protective Equipment are also required.
It is also important to use the proper standard equipment when regulating traffic. This equipment includes a standard octagonal stop-slow or stop-stop paddle and a two-way radio system.
All set. Coming at you.
The radio system shall not be attached to a vehicle. Be sure these devices meet the standards spelled out in the most current version of MDOT's Traffic Regulators Instruction Manual. The use of flags is only allowed in emergency situations as defined in Part 6 of the Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Before stepping on the roadway, it's important for traffic regulators to be mentally focused. Confidence and a professional attitude are the keys to job success. They enable you to let motorists know that you're in charge of the situation. This will help you maintain a safe and orderly flow of traffic. Remain calm. Never signal traffic in a hasty or frantic manner. Excitement is contagious. Your job is to regulate traffic, not to assist the crew. Don't watch construction operations beyond what is necessary to direct traffic. Every project and work zone is unique. We will give you some basic rules to follow when selecting your location. As a traffic regulator, it is your job to obtain your assigned traffic regulator station from the foreman or supervisor. Proper layout of traffic control, including the proper placement of the regulator within the sequence, is extremely important. This helps avoid motorist confusion as they approach the work zone. Be sure to check out the location before work begins. Understanding your surroundings will allow you to properly place yourself. But if you are ever unsure about your placement, please ask your foreman or supervisor for clarification. Remember, you must be clearly visible at all times. Don't turn your back to traffic and never place yourself in the path of oncoming traffic. Choosing the optimal position is the key to being able to safely maintain traffic and to keeping workers and motorists safe. You must also have a clearly defined escape route in case a motorist invades your traffic regulator station. You should stand stationary on the shoulder of the road adjacent to the travel lane that is being controlled. Always be sure that you are facing traffic. When regulating traffic, you want to stay out of the lane that is open to traffic. You also want to be a minimum of 10 feet in front of the lighted arrow panel to make sure that you are clearly visible to approaching traffic. You should hold your sign panel in one hand and use the other hand to give the proper regulator's signals to motorists. You will also want to use this hand to communicate with other regulators using the required two-way radio system. It is important to coordinate your movements of the sign, signals, and radio to be comfortable for you to safely do your job. To recap, let's take a look at what we've covered when selecting your location. Never stand in the open lane of traffic. Stand so that you can maintain eye contact with the driver of the first vehicle. Never cross the center line into the open lane of traffic. Stand a minimum of 10 feet in front of the arrow board, and if you're not sure, ask your supervisor. If the arrow board is placed in the lane, as opposed to on the shoulder due to roadway features such as curbed roadway or limited shoulder, you will have to adjust your position to make sure that you are standing in line with the arrow board, as you can see here. When you are stopping traffic, aim the stop paddle face towards approaching traffic. Extend your arm away from your body so the stop is clearly visible. Your other arm should also be extended, with the palm of your hand open above your shoulder level, facing traffic. Try to make direct eye contact with the driver of the first stop vehicle in order to maintain their attention. Once the first vehicle is stopped and in controlled position, communicate that to other traffic regulators using your handheld two-way radio. If the approaching motorist doesn't appear to be stopping, point at the driver and get their attention. Then provide the stop hand signal along with the stop face of the paddle. Make clear and precise signals that can be easily understood. To release traffic, you must visually determine that all traffic and work operations are clear of the travel lane. Confirm with other regulators that their traffic is stopped and under control. Face the traffic you're releasing. With your arm extended horizontally away from your body, turn the paddle face from stop to slow and aim the slow face at the traffic you are releasing. Motion left to right with your free arm for traffic to proceed. Make sure that your free arm is fully extended and that you are moving your arm across your body in a deliberate and consistent motion. To alert motorists traveling through the work zone to slow down, keep the slow face toward traffic. With your free arm extended, motion slowly in an up and down manner, keeping your palm facing the ground. Now that we have discussed the proper clothing, safety gear, your position within the work zone, and how to correctly direct traffic, we need to cover one very common situation that you will face as a traffic regulator. You may be asked to be an intermediate traffic regulator. Your job will be to assist motorists who want to enter the work zone from an intersecting road or driveway within the work zone itself. You must be in visual or radio contact with other regulators to coordinate safe travel through the work zone. You should never stop the mainline traffic. Radio communication with other regulators will help you do your job safely, as you can see in this example.
Last car through is a green Escort.
Okay, I've got one more blue Monte Carlo on the side road. That's now going to be the last car.
When regulating traffic at night, the number one concern for you is to be seen and identified as a traffic regulator by approaching motorists. At night, the lighting requirements must be maintained. A minimum of 10 foot candles is required at your traffic regulator station, and the lighting needs to be set up in a way so that you are visible. This lighting must not create a glare for you or the motorist approaching from either direction. The light level measurement must be taken with an approved light meter. An app or program on your mobile device or cell phone is not acceptable. A flashlight with red glow cone may be used for additional visibility when regulating traffic at night. All traffic control devices must be retroreflective and must meet the requirements set out in the most current edition of Quality Guidelines for Temporary Traffic Control Devices and Features. Your flashlight with red glow cone is useful for getting the attention of motorists at a distance. Slowly wave the light back and forth across the front of your legs while displaying the stop or slow side of the paddle with the other hand. When you become visible to motorists approaching your lit station, you can return to the standard hand signals. For night work, you should consider wearing Class 3 high visibility apparel, such as a vest with sleeves or a Class 2 vest with Class E pants. Retro-reflective gloves to increase your overall visibility are also an option. There will be times when you encounter large vehicles that may obstruct the sight line between you and motorists. If this occurs, you should do the following. Once you have the first vehicle stopped and controlled, you can walk out toward the center line to improve your line of sight. You can never cross into the lane of open traffic. Prior to releasing traffic, you should return to your original position and then proceed with your normal traffic regulating operation. You must always be ready for the special needs of emergency vehicles traveling through the work zone. When you identify emergency vehicles approaching the work zone, immediately communicate this information to all other traffic regulators.
Heads up, we have a police car coming. Clear the zone. Heads up.
Yep, I'm still on stop.
Coordinate the stoppage of all other traffic entering the work zone until you have established the needs of the emergency vehicle. Remain calm and confidently control the current traffic at your station. Give clear signals to the emergency vehicle to move through the work zone as soon as it is safe to do so. Remember, always be prepared for more than one emergency vehicle. Once these vehicles have moved completely through the work zone,
Traffic is clear.
the lead regulator starts the operation back up again.
I'm going to send you a car.
When regulating traffic, you will encounter angry motorists. You should be prepared for this ahead of time. Always remain calm and continue to do your job. Staying focused in this situation is the key to your safety and the safety of workers and other motorists. Let's observe a regulator properly handling this situation.
What are you doing? Stop! Stop!
Intruder in the work zone. 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 Intruder in the work zone.
We hope this video helps you better understand how to safely regulate traffic in Michigan work zones. Your job is vital for the safety of the work zone. You are keeping workers and motorists safe. Remember to wear the proper clothing and safety gear. Be sure that you are mentally focused and in the right location. Calmly use the paddle sign and corresponding hand signals to maintain order and safely guide motorists through the work zone. Stay alert and use your radio to communicate with other regulators. And remember, watching this video is only one part of becoming a qualified traffic regulator. You must also read the Traffic Regulator Instruction Manual within 12 months prior to traffic regulating. You can get a copy of the Traffic Regulator Instruction Manual and find other detailed, helpful information on regulating traffic at the web address on the screen.
So in closing, I would also like to mention that while we are construction workers and we may be working on the job site, we also are motorists. We also do have to transit to work and then come home at the end of the day. So as a motorist, it's always important to pay attention to the orange diamond-shaped warning signs. Remain alert, stay alert at all times when transiting through a construction zone. Minimize distractions, so cell phones, conversations with anyone else in the vehicle, eating. It's important to follow all posted speed limits and be prepared for the unexpected. So as a motorist, we want to show the same respect to the people on the job site as we would expect from any other motorist when we're on a job site. So there's an equal responsibility to do the right thing here. So always remain attentive and always have good situational awareness. If you have any questions following this presentation, feel free to contact the safety department. We are available for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to answer any of your questions. Whether you have an issue with your traffic control, you need a little extra guidance, we'll be happy to be there for you.